Hey there, everybody. This is Kenny, and welcome back to the Pause for a Minute podcast as we wrap up the first chapter of the book of Philippians. What a wonderful journey this has been. I hope you're getting as much out of this study as I am. And so I'm going to read 27 through 30. Through 30, and we'll wrap it up for this first chapter, and then I'll go back and do the key points instead of kind of chopping it up like I've done these first couple of days. It might be a little smoother if I just read it straight through. And there's only a few key phrases here as we wrap up that I want you to really wrap your mind around. And then I'm going to give you that homework that I promised you. I'm going to give that to you as we get set now and start to get in the mindset of meeting again next Wednesday night. So life worthy of the gospel is these next few verses. So at 27, whatever happens, conduct yourselves in a manner worthy of the gospel of Christ. Then, whether I come and see you or not, only hear about you in my absence. I will know that you stand firm in the one spirit, striving together as one for the faith of the gospel, without being frightened in any way by those who oppose you. This is a sign to them that they will be destroyed, but that you will be saved, and that will be by God. For it has been granted to you on behalf of Christ, not only to believe in him, but also to suffer for him, since you are going through the same struggle you saw that I had, and now hear that I still have. Wow. A lot of things to unpack there. I'm just going to hit on a few of the highlights as he's wrapping up now this first chapter. Paul has said a lot here, and in 27, when he talks about conducting yourself, you see the Philippians were under the Roman colony, so they knew they had to conduct themselves as really good citizens. They had already learned that lesson. That was something that was embedded with them. They were good citizens, good neighbors. They took care of each other. They abided by the laws and the rules there in the Roman colony. What Paul was telling them here in verse 27 is now to take those same qualities that you're doing, that good citizenship, and still be good citizens, but also be good citizens for the Lord. So be good heavenly citizens. So now, as you're following all of the laws and policies there for that town of Philippi, I want you to follow all the laws and policies that I'm telling you here in this letter, and to follow Christ's word. I thought that's really, really interesting. Interesting, as I looked this up in verse 28, Paul used the word frightened. And I think we use that word a lot now. But I learned that back then, the only time they used the word frightened when there was a panicked horse. When there was, if anybody's ever been horse riding, it is the scariest moment. If I remember, we were horse riding on Pelham Parkway in the Bronx back in the day, and a car backfired, and the horse got scared and just started running instead of just doing that nice little trot, and we were good. Horse started running, and then started running like in circles. It was just panicked. It took a while for that horse to calm down. But frightened, that was the only time they really used that term back then. So it was interesting that Paul brought the term back up and was telling the people of Philippi to not be terror-stricken, not be frightened by folks who now oppose them. Because you see, they're saved by God, where the folks that oppose them were not living in God's word. So in essence, he's saying here that those folks that oppose you, they should be the ones that are frightened. They should be the ones that should be worrying about what's to come next, not you. In verse 29, really, really interesting here that he uses the key term in that is to suffer for him. So I don't think any of us want to suffer on purpose. It just happens. I know that there are some folks some Christians and missionaries that sometimes like to live in poverty so that they can suffer with the folks that they are serving. Nothing wrong with that at all. But I don't think any of us on purpose, I think most of us, let me put it that way, on purpose don't just suffer, right? But Paul puts it this way, and here's what my Bible says. Suffering matures us now. So suffering matures us and prepares us for that glorification that we'll have for Christ. And when you, as one of my goals is, as you guys know, is to really bring this into practical terms today. When we think about any suffering that we do, how many times where suffering happens and we come through it and then we learn something. We take some lessons from that suffering so that doesn't happen again. Whether it's, we have a heart attack or something like that, then we change our diet, right? And we exercise. That's maturity. You take that suffering that you had and you mature and you learn something from it. So Paul is telling them that there is going to be some suffering here, but you're going to grow and you're going to mature for it, and it all is going to prepare you for that glorification that's coming for you to have with Christ. So those are the three key phrases that I wanted to talk about in these final verses of chapter 1 in Philippians. Here's your homework. Read it again. Just read chapter 1 again. Just read it right through again. If you haven't already, jot down 2 or 3 really aha moments for you. 2 or 3 things that you really took from this first chapter. And we'll discuss not only those 2 or 3 things now, but how you're going to put it in play. So again, what we'll do Wednesday, we'll recap chapter 1. We'll take the first 10 minutes or so and recap chapter 1, some of the key points. And within that, I want to hear from you as to what you think those key points were for you. And we will jump into chapter 2, which is unbelievable. And the first part is imitating Christ's humility. And just thinking about those 3 words, the humility of Christ, right? We're going to dive more deeper into there and see what Paul has to say to his people. So again, homework. Read it through one more time. It'll take you about 5-10 minutes to just read it through one more time. Jot down, pray about 2 or 3 key things that you took from chapter 1. Maybe you didn't know them before, like the frightened part. I never knew that before, that was only a term used for, panicked horses. That's just really amazing to me. All right, we're going to wrap it up there. For now, this is Kenny with the Pause for a Minute podcast. We will see you Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Don't be late. Talk to you later.